Well, it's here. The big news from Harman is that their Phoenix 200 film is now available in 120 or medium format. Almost as soon as Harman came out with Phoenix 200 and 35mm at the end of 2023, I heard people start asking about availability in other formats, and I think 120 is the next logical step. It was a big deal when Harman introduced Phoenix 200 because it was a brand new C41 color emulsion, not just a rebadged or rebranded brand of something else. Plus, it was the first color film under the Harman name. Most of the characteristics of the 35mm version should carry over to the 120. The warm tones, the rich oranges, the narrow dynamic range, the enhanced contrast. The one thing that may be a little bit different is the grain. It's really pronounced in the 35mm, and I'd expect that it might be a little bit less noticeable in the 120, just because typically, or generally speaking, 120 grain tends to be a little bit less conspicuous than 35mm. Now, I don't know that for sure because I haven't shot the 120 yet, but right before this announcement, I was lucky enough to win a roll of the 35mm Phoenix 200 from Film Developing Co. on Instagram. And I'm going to share that roll with you here now. I shot it at my Canon Rebel TI, and I'm going to show you the whole roll, all 36 images, in a little montage now. Stick around after the images and I'll share my top 3.5 tips for getting the most out of Harman Phoenix 200. So tip number one for getting the most out of Phoenix 200 is don't shoot it at box speed. The examples I've seen that were shot at 200 ISO looked a little muddy. I shot mine at 100. I think 125 might be a good choice too. Tip number 2 is shoot it in even lighting. As I mentioned before, this film does not have a very wide dynamic range, so if your scenes have a big extreme of lights and darks, that probably won't look the best. And that brings us to tip number 3, which is pull down those highlights in post, especially if you overexpose this film like I do. You're going to blow out some highlights, as I did, so don't be afraid to make some corrections when you're editing. Tip number 3.5 is the flip side of this. It's okay to pull up those shadows too. Probably the thing I like best about Phoenix 200 is that every time you buy a roll, you're helping fund research and development for new films from Harman, and I for one can't wait to see what they come up with next. If you want to keep up with new films like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel where I now have over 350 free videos all about film photography with many more to come. Until next time, do some good, have some fun, and shoot some film.